Group 4, Nyack, NGC 7. Members: Banataza, Keith Vincent, Janaban, Prince Den J, Suba Aslan, Escasinas, Justin Ray, Umali, Nathan Liu, Ostria, Clive. Chapter 1. General Concepts and Historical Events in Science, Technology, and Society. Lesson 2. Science, Technology, and Nation-Building Learning Objectives 1. Discuss the role of science and technology in Philippines nation-building. 2. Evaluate government policies pertaining to science and technology in terms of their contributions to nation-building. And 3. Identify actual science and technology policies of government and appraise their impact on the development of the Filipino nation. Introduction. This lesson will discuss the influence of science and technology in the development of the Philippine society. It identifies government programs, projects, and policies geared toward boosting the science and technological capacity of the country. This lesson will also include discussion on Philippine indigenous science and technology. Brief historical background of science and technology in the Philippines. Science. In pre-Spanish Philippines, science is embedded in the way of life of the people. Scientific knowledge is observed in the way they plant their crops that provide them food, in taking care of animals to help them in their daily tasks, and for food productions. Science is observed in the way they interpret the movements of heavenly bodies to predict seasons and climates, and in organizing days into months and years. Technology. It is used by people in building houses, irrigations, and in developing tools that they can use in everyday life. They develop tools for planting, hunting, cooking, and fishing, for fighting their enemies during war or tribal conflicts, and for transportation, both on land and on waterways. They also develop technologies in creating musical instruments. Stone Age. Archaeological findings show that modern man from Asian mainland first came overland on across narrow channels to live in Batangas and Palawan about 48,000 B. Subsequently, they formed settlement in Sulu, Samar, Negros, Batangas, Laguna, Rizal, Bulacan, and Cagayan. Stone Age inventions. They made simple tools and weapons of stone flakes, and latter developed method of sawing and polishing stones around 40,000 B. By around 3,000 B, they were producing adzes ornaments of seashells and pottery. Pottery flourished for the next 2,000 years until they imported Chinese porcelain. Soon they learned to produce copper, bronze, iron, and gold metal tools and ornaments. Iron Age. The Iron Age lasted from their 3rd century B to 11th century A. During this period, Filipinos were engaged in extraction, smelting, and refining of iron from ores, until the importation of cast iron from Sarawak and later from China. Iron Age inventions/discoveries. They learned to weave cotton, make glass ornaments, and cultivate lowland rice in dike fields or terrace fields utilizing spring water in mountain regions. They also learned to build boats for trading purposes. Spanish chronicles noted refined plank-built warships called carasso as suited for inter-island trade raids. 10th century A, Filipinos from Butuan were trading with Campa, Vietnam, and those from Mindoro with China, as noted in Chinese records containing several references to the Philippines. These archaeological findings indicated that regular trade relations between the Philippines, China, and Vietnam had been well established from 10th century to the 15th century A. Trading. The people of Mai and Sansu, Palawan, traded bee wax, cotton, pearls, coconut heart mats, tortoise shell, and medicinal betel nuts, panty cloth for porcelain, leads, fishnet sinker, colored glass beads, iron pots, iron needles, and tin. Before the Spaniards, Filipinos were already engaged in activities and practices related to science forming primitive or first-wave technology. They were curative values of some plant on how to extract medicine from herbs. They had an alphabet, a system of writing, a method of counting and weights and measure. They had no calendar, but counted the years by the period of the moon and from one harvest to another. Government policies on scene and technology, social sciences, humanities, education, international policies and governance, integrating ASEAN awareness in basic education without adding to the curriculum, emphasizing teaching in the mother tongue, developing school infrastructure and providing for ICT broadband. local food security, physics, engineering, and industrial research, earth and space sciences, and mathematics, emphasizing degrees, licenses, and employment opportunities, outright grants for peer monitoring. Review of R. 9184, have a copy of this. Harnessing science and technology as an independent mover of development, medical, chemical, and pharmaceutical sciences. Ensuring compliance of drug manufacturing firms with ASEAN harmonized standards by full implementation of the FOF and Drug Administration. Creating an education council dedicated to standardization of pharmaceutical services and care. Empowering food and drug agencies to conduct evidence-based research as pool of information. Allocating 2% of the GDP to research. Legislating a law supporting human genome projects, biological science, agriculture, and forestry. Protecting and conserving biodiversity by full implementation of existing laws. Use of biosafety and standard model by ASEAN countries. Promoting indigenous knowledge systems and indigenous people as conservation. Formulation of common food and safety standards. Famous Filipinos in the field of science. First is Ramon Cabanos Barba for his outstanding research on tissue culture in the Philippine mangoes. Second is Josefino Cacas Camiso for his works on observing the characteristics of Antarctica by using satellite images. Third is Jose Bijur Cruz Jr., known internationally in the field of electrical engineering, was elected as officer of the famous Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineering. Fourth is Lourdes Jansui Cruz, notable for her research on sea snail venom. Fifth is Fabian Miller-Darren for his research on herbal medicine. Sixth is Rafael de Neros Guerrero III for his research on tilapia culture. Seventh is Enrique Mapua Austria Jr. for inventing the meconium drugs Teddy. Eighth is Lillian Formalijo Patina for doing research on plant biotechnology. Ninth is Marijo Panganiban Ruiz for being an outstanding educator and graph theorist. 10th is Gregory Liggett Tangonan for his research in the field of communication technology. 11th is Cesar A. Saloma, an internationally renowned physicist. 12th is Edgardo Gomez, famous scientist in marine science. 13 is William Padalina, chemistry and president of National Academy of Science and Technology, NAST, Philippines. And last but not the least is Angel Alcala, marine science. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something.